One of the most outrageous things we have seen over the past year and a half is the use and abuse of the word genocide about what's happening in Gaza, about Israel's war in Gaza. Let's first go to the basics. What is genocide? After the Holocaust, a Jewish person named Yaakov Lemkin looked at what happened to the Jewish people and realized that there's no word in the vocabulary that can properly describe what happened. He couldn't fathom that the word murder or war should be applicable because they weren't. What the Nazis did to the Jewish people was far beyond anything you would describe as war or even an act of murder. It was an attempt to completely destroy and eradicate the Jewish people, systematically pursuing each and every Jewish person in order to completely wipe out an entire nation, the Jewish nation. Now, he coined this word, genocide, a nation, but the killing of a nation. Now, think about it for a minute. That is talking about the near eradication of Jews from Europe. That's what happened during the Holocaust. The UN then put the term as a legal term and gave it exact measures of what it is and when it applies. Let's look at the definition and let's see if it's even remotely arguable in the context of what's happened in Gaza. Number one, when we speak about genocide, there needs to be intent. Israel never had intent to eradicate the people of Gaza, never thought of it, never said it, and never committed actions that showed that it wanted to eradicate the people of Gaza. What Israel did do is Israel went to war with Gaza. In fact, had Hamas returned the hostages, had Hamas laid down its arms and surrendered, not one, I repeat, not one single person in Gaza would have lost their lives. Not one. In fact, multiple times throughout the war with Gaza, Hamas had and continues to have the option of returning the hostages, of laying down its weapons, of surrendering, and it doesn't. And so the idea that there's intent by Israel to commit genocide, when in fact Hamas are the ones who have the power to end this war, is absolutely obscene. But let's continue. It's not just the intent, it's the desire to destroy an entire people. Who are the people that we're talking about here? The Palestinian people here. Palestinians living in the West Bank, living in Ramallah, in Nablus, Jenin, they remain independent. They can do whatever they want in their own communities. Nobody is threatening them unless, of course, they pick up arms and try and join terrorist organizations to fight against Israel. Then the Israeli army will try and stop that. However, Palestinians are living a regular life. Only Palestinians in Gaza, which is governed by Hamas, are the ones who are experiencing this difficulty. Now, I'm not here to tell you there is no difficulty in Gaza. There sure is. We've seen an extraordinary amount of structural damage, of buildings destroyed, but nonetheless, that is what happens in war. What you don't see here is genocide. There's no act of genocide. There's no intent. And the idea that Israel would be committing genocide when in fact the ones who can stop it at any given moment are Hamas, that tells you already there is no genocide. In fact, I would argue that there is genocide that took place on October 7th. Why? Because there it was a declared genocide. Part of Hamas's charter is the absolute destruction of Israel and the Jewish people. And that's exactly what they did. They went into home after home and completely took out and destroyed family after family. In some cases, 3 generations of the same family were completely taken by Hamas, and those lives have been lost. So, if you ask me, there is genocide, and that genocide took place on October 7th. That was an act of genocide. There was intent, there was the idea, the desire to try and destroy a nation, and it was against a protected class. Genocide has to be committed. If it's done, it's to be legally recognized as genocide against a protected class. If there's war against soldiers, that's not genocide. What you have in Gaza is war with Hamas terrorists. The IDF tries to find Hamas terrorists. Now that's much harder than regular wars because Hamas terrorists are hiding behind civilian infrastructure and as civilians. However, on October 7th, Hamas did try and eradicate Israeli civilians, a protected class, the Jewish people, and that in fact was an act of genocide. Just like during the Holocaust, the genocide that the Nazis did not succeed in completely eradicating the Jewish people. On October 7th, Hamas did not succeed in completely eradicating the Jewish people, but that's because the Israeli police and army were able to eventually quash the Hamas incursion. Was it an act of genocide? Absolutely. Hamas did commit an act of genocide on October 7th. Is Israel committing a genocide in Gaza? That's an obscene question. Israel has no intent. There is no protected class that is being targeted. Israel is not targeting civilians. It's doing everything it can not to attack civilians. Hamas are doing their best to make sure the Palestinian casualties are maximized. That's why Hamas are hiding under hospitals and under schools. And Hamas can surrender, lay down their arms, return the hostages, and do all kinds of things to make sure this war is over. So why do people say Israel's committing genocide when in fact that's an obscene claim that doesn't meet the most basic definitions of genocide? The answer is because they want shock value. It's a propaganda war and they want to shock the world. They want to say, look how bad Israel is. In fact, sadly, if you've seen the anti-Israel social media posts, they will shy away from nothing. They will use the term Holocaust. They will use terms about slavery, other terms that are just meant to generate shock and rally sympathy for Hamas, for the Palestinian cause, and for against Israel. Now, again, I'm not saying the people of Gaza don't deserve sympathy. Many of them do, because many of them are civilians that Hamas is hiding behind them. That's true. But at the same time, that is not genocide. That is war. And that is something that you need to contact Hamas. You need to put the pressure on Hamas and say, okay, these guys need to disarm. These guys should not be allowed to control Gaza. That's what's happening. It's preposterous that anyone is calling it genocide, because if anything, genocide has been committed against Israel on October 7th.